Well, I'm going to show some videos of cutting real grass yesterday, the 4th of July, between family being here and several things. I didn't do a great deal, but it was a lot of fun to put the mower into use. I have had a great deal of trouble with a lot of things, and I owe a video to show you all kind of what I've changed, and I will do that, I hope, very soon. One thing I had trouble with was with the GPS, the RTK communication between base and rover wasn't working very well, and I finally discovered the trouble was a bug in my software. I'm using the Adafruit Feather M0 LoRa module, and I had a bug in my code that was causing it to not work well, and so I fixed that, and everything was just super with that. I can get a great distance away from the base and still have an RTK fixed mode for the, everything I was doing pretty much. It stayed in RTK fixed, so that was very good. So having conquered that, I decided, even though I had a lot of trouble with pivot turns not working well, and my tuning wasn't great, even on straight lines, I decided to give it a shot anyway. So that's what you'll see and hear some of my talking while I was recording these videos with my cell phone. So anyway, I hesitated to put this out there because of my rambling on and the things I was saying as I was explaining, but I decided maybe it'll help someone along the way to not make the same mistakes I made, and just see that, hey, even with mistakes, it still could do something useful. I've since, even tonight, made some great changes to my actuators that I am using currently, and have them working much better. So I've actually got got some hope that I may be able to tune pivot turns and even other steering to work much better with the actuators I have. So I may postpone building my own actuators and see how that goes. So anyway, hope you enjoy the videos. I did it the first pass. I had the spacing set at 48 inches with a 60-inch mower, and it doing a pretty bad job, so I made a second pass with it set at 36 inches, and it's just about picked up everything it missed the first time. Definitely got a problem with pivot turns still, which I'm attributing to the real slow actuator. But there are a lot of parameters to tune. It's possible to tune it and make it work. I don't know, because it's way better than it was. But I've got everything to build my own actuator, and hopefully that'll improve it. It's just going to take a while to get it built. Mowing my weeds for the first time out here in the backyard with everything kind of working well, although pivot turns aren't working, but the RTK is great on the GPS. So I've got RTK fixed, so it's tracking really good and really well. So what I've set up here is a grid pattern, a survey grid, using the auto waypoint feature with the polygon and all that you can do in Mission Planner. If you're familiar with that, you draw a polygon and you tell it the spacing you want, and it'll create a back and forth grid to cover that. I've set the spacing to 48 inches with my mower being a 60-inch cut to give myself a foot of overlap because my tuning's not great. And I should have done a little more. If you see out there, you see some places where it missed a little bit. By giving it a few more inches, maybe it wouldn't have missed anything. Now the way that, since I don't have pivot turns working well, my turns at the end are going to be quite wide. So with that survey tool you're able to have an incoming distance and an outgoing distance at each end. So that's what I've done. So really, you see it looks pretty bad up here where it's missed these areas, but that's not within the polygon that I drew. Only the middle section out there is where I'm actually expecting it to be, tracking good, and the parts, it has room to turn and do whatever it needs to get back in line. That's the way it's working right now. So you see it did a little strange, not so good at tracking back just then and missed a little area. But overall, it's doing pretty well. I still could probably tune it better. The compasses are not working, so it's just running on GPS. I've actually got the compasses disabled because it's about to turn now. So it's in that zone now beyond the polygon. Interestingly, decided to turn in what seems to be the wrong direction to get back to the waypoint. That's the first time I've seen it do that on this end. I saw it do it once on the other end. But so it's going to have a problem now getting back in line. So it's headed to the waypoint that's right about there. So that's the waypoint. Now it's got to cut back, but because it's going to probably overshoot. Well, it didn't do too bad, did it? How about that? I expected to overshoot quite a bit before it got back in line. Wow, it did pretty well. Oh, see, now it's having trouble, even though it kind of looked okay. It's still overshooting back and forth, kind of dampening down to a good steady straight line here in a minute. But it's so not perfect. But if I had it overlapping a little more with my grid, we're in a little tighter grid, I think it would have probably still covered its places that it missed there and would have been all right, even though it looks like a drunk man driving a lawnmower. All that bag on top is just because it's threatening to rain. I bought a new enclosure and a lot of new, new enclosure and cables and bulkhead connectors and everything to try to put it in a nice enclosure that I can unplug the wiring from and all that. Just who knows when I'll get to it. Once it starts working, you kind of don't want to stop to get things right. You want to just keep running it. And I still want to get the tuning right. Also got materials to build build my own linear actuator with a lead screw and a screwdriver motor and a potentiometer for feedback. That's going to take a while, but looking forward to trying to do that eventually. Oh, turning the wrong way again. Bring it on back, Nelly. Certainly could play around with some of the waypoints. I just used that auto waypoint tool with no changes whatsoever. Let it do its thing. I mean, I did adjust the distances on the end that it was given to turn around. You can set those to 0 up to a greater number. Okay, we skipped a good bit where we overshot, so boy, that's bad right there. Although it still may be within that zone that's not actually the polygon that I drew. So, but I don't know. It's having trouble getting back on track here. She's coming on over. Oh. And one of the more interesting events that happened toward the end of the day was when I decided to cut another area down near our pond, which with all the rain we have had, there's some wet areas that's easy to bog down in the mud. Have done that several times with our mower when I'm driving it. So anyway, I thought I had set the area to be mowed, away from the muddy area, and I had it operating. It actually got dark before I even got it started, so I was in the house. It was mowing away, far enough away from the house that you couldn't really hear or really see the mower, but I was watching on Mission Planner, and I noticed it stopped moving. And I said, "Uh-oh, I know what has happened." And sure enough, I walked down to it, and it was just spinning in the mud. The autopilot was doing its best to make that thing move, but it was just spinning. And you'll see this photo coming up showing that. Well, I thought, well, I can pull this out with my pickup truck. That's right, I rode down. I didn't walk down, so I drove down in my pickup truck. So I hooked a strap that I had on the back of the truck to the mower, and guess what I did then? I got the truck stuck. So that meant walk back to the house, take my wife's van down to the shop to get the tractor, go back and pull the truck out and pull the mower out, and then get all those vehicles back where they needed to go. So several trips back and forth. But anyway, so that was quite an experience. And then this is what the mower looked like after the end of the day. It actually rained a little bit during the afternoon when I was mowing, just a small sprinkle, but that wet the grass enough that grass stuck to the mower, and then the mud you see right down on the deck there where the wheels were stuck. So it got quite a workout, and just think that would have been me looking like that if I'd been driving that mower. So thank you, RG Rover.